Wokeism. It's the new worldview made popular by a convergence of movements seeking to right the wrongs in the world. So where does it come from? Some think that wokeism finds its roots in the postmodern deconstructionist movement that exploded in French universities in the last century. Philosophers there set out on a mission to deconstruct what they called meta-narratives. These are overarching views of life and history that help people make sense of reality, like religion and the natural sciences. These philosophers taught a generation of students to be cynical of everything handed on to them from past generations by encouraging them to be critical of any and every meta-narrative. All this academic theory had little impact on real life until the 1980s and 90s, when applied deconstructionism exploded in college classrooms in the form of post-colonial theory, queer theory, critical race theory, intersectional feminism, and more. Driven by themes of social justice, these theories went beyond the French deconstructionists and labeled most meta-narratives not just false or blocks to reality, but oppressive and evil. You see, when we wake up to the belief that everything is about a conflict of the oppressed versus the oppressor, and after we deconstruct our own inherited oppressive thinking and set out on a mission to dismantle everything in our inherently oppressive world, then we're considered members of an elite class known as the woke. Everyone else, of course, is asleep. So, what's right with it? The good thing about wokeism is that it recognizes that there is historic and systemic injustice in the world. By no means are we trying to undermine that fact. Racism, sexism, the mistreatment of those who self-identify as LGBT, it's all very real and can, in some places and times in history, become systemic, meaning the injustice perpetrated by individuals has seeped into laws, social interactions, workplace policies, and then the way we communicate history. That said, every movement of social upheaval in the past century that went disastrously wrong was rooted in some legitimate fight against real injustice. Communists, Nazis, French revolutionaries, they all called for liberty, equality, and fraternity in their fight against very real injustices in their time. They also labeled anyone who stood in the way as enemies of liberty, equality, and fraternity, which, not surprisingly, stopped anyone from questioning them. Because who wants to be a jerk? And for a time, that made their movements unstoppable as they shifted from philosophies to movements obsessed with gaining and using power to remake the world. Not that I'm saying the woke are Nazis, but I'm saying that just because I agree with the woke that there's real systemic injustice doesn't mean I have to agree with wokeism. So where does wokeism go disastrously wrong? Maybe a better name for wokeism to reveal its flaws is nothing but ism. Listen, while I'd agree with the woke that people who identify as LGBT have been mistreated, I don't agree with the woke that the nuclear family is nothing but a system to oppress people who identify as LGBT. That America, although it has racism in its past and present, is nothing but a political expression of systemic racism. That capitalism is nothing but a racist economic system. That the message of the gospel, the best news in human history, that God loves us, died for us, called us to life on high forever, is nothing but an oppressive and obsolete system spread by colonial powers, and the world is better off without it. All that reductionist thinking has led to the plan of the woke to just cancel those who are non-woke and who are naturally nothing but oppressive and deserving of nothing but removal from society. Hence the birth of cancel culture, a cruel form of social excommunication. So how should good people respond? First, set your hearts on what you love. Too many people see recent cultural trends, get obsessed with them, and get filled with anger. Listen, saints and heroes, they were aware of what's wrong in their world, but they didn't fill their hearts and minds with what they hate. They filled their hearts and minds with what they love. That's why even though the world might love to hate Christians, saints are irresistibly, universally attractive. 2, act with courage. Listen, I know it's not easy, but the silent majority needs to stop being silent. Because if we don't, we'll surrender the world to those who want to reform it into a place that no one wants to live in. And 3, offer the world a better meta-narrative than wokeism and cancel culture. Wokeism is a meta-narrative all its own. It's one that leaves people suspicious and critical of everything, including themselves. It's one that destroys people and cultures. We need to offer people something better, not just complain about the problems in the world as it is. We need to offer a community of believers that stands with the oppressed, cares for the needy, and fights injustice, not because everything is nothing but broken and bad, but because God is love and He found us worth dying for. That is a meta-narrative I'm proud to live and die by, because it's redeeming. But also because it's true. And no secular movement or worldview in history remotely compares with it. This is Chris Stefanick from Real Life Catholic for Edify. Thanks for watching this video. Please help edify others and our country by sharing it through email and social media.